So what happened is in the late 90s, Disney had several ideas to bring a West Coast version of Walt Disney World to California. But they were faced with multiple problems. One of the main problems was the lack of land available. Disneyland California was originally built on what used to be orange groves, and in the 30 some odd years since Disneyland opened to the idea of bringing a Walt Disney World style experience to California, residential land was developed and communities were built around the area that is now part of the downtown Anaheim experience. There are several communities and mass housing projects that were constructed within those 30 years that made it very difficult for Disneyland California to expand into additional land areas. So ultimately, what they did in the late 90s, they leveled and brought the original Disneyland parking lot back to the dirt state that it was originally in, minus the orange groves, because obviously orange groves can't grow in a asphalt parking lot anyway. So what happened was, rather than building outside of the original land park area that Disneyland was first built on, they decided to level the original single story asphalt parking lot that the original parking area sat on and convert that into a theme park. Now, on the outside, that doesn't seem like a terrible idea. You can't expand outside of your property, so build within. Okay, cool. But the design already had a major flaw before ground was even broke. You see, Disneyland California is a very local based, even though they do get national and international tourists visiting the park year round, they have a very local, loyal fan base. And what they forgot was that local, loyal fan base. Now, many of the people that visit Disneyland because of their annual pass program live in California. They know about California. They've seen California. They know what California has to offer. But still, Michael Eisner and Disney Parks proceeded to build a theme park in Anaheim, in California, themed around the state of California. Now, I'm not an expert, I'm not an architect, I'm not a park designer, but looking in from the outside, I can already see where the problem would lie in that. Why are you going to design an entire theme park based around the state that people are visiting, that people already live in, that people already know about? I'm not saying that the design as a whole was a failure. I mean, it's a very beautiful park. The way they designed the park from opening day to probably about 7 years ago was pretty freaking cool. If it was built somewhere else. But the park was built in the state that it's themed around. I don't know. Honestly, I have no words. The attractions were pretty cool. The offerings were pretty exciting. But again, it wasn't anything new for most people that were visiting that park. People visit California. Where do they go? They go to Hollywood. They go to San Francisco. They go to Central Valley. They go to the wine country. They want to see everything that California has to offer. And unfortunately for Disney, a lot of people that visited that park have already seen that, whether or not they've seen it for the first time when they decided to come to Disneyland, or they already live in California and they grew up visiting those places. I can't say for sure, but building an entire park themed around a state that it's built in, to me, just seems like a terrible idea. And attendance for California Adventure was far less than expected. Reception was not well received. And in fact, opening day for California Adventure had more problems than opening day for Disneyland Resort in general. There were only a few attraction offerings, and the offerings that were available were not the top attractions that you would expect. Maliboomer was available, which honestly is kind of a cool concept. You're the bell on a carnival game where people swing a hammer, hit a little peg or whatever, and it flies up the tower and is supposed to ring a bell. When you ring the bell, you win a prize. Well, on Maliboomer, you are the bell, which is kind of cool. Plus, it was a great launch ride experience. It provided a great view of the surrounding Southern Orange County neighborhoods, which, before that was built, the highest point in Disneyland was the 90-foot summit on Matterhorn, which guests couldn't even experience. In fact, there was an experience for cast members that was paused for quite a while due to safety concerns. So unless you were Tinkerbell flying through the night from Matterhorn to the castle, starting the fireworks show, it was very rare that you would get that experience. However, Maliboomer offered that experience. You could get those cool little views of the surrounding Anaheim, Southern Orange County area, which honestly was a welcome addition to the park, but come opening day, that was about it. Oh, and actually, I take that back. They had one e-ticket attraction available, I believe, on opening day, and that was Soarin', which at the time that it opened was a groundbreaking, immersive experience that honestly is probably the only reason to visit California Adventure to this day, when they offer the Soarin' over California experience. Since opening day, it's been rethemed, reimagined. Now it's Soarin' around the world, which is cool too. I mean, it's still the same type of experience, just different scenery. But honestly, even as a Californian, it was kind of cool getting a hang gliding experience around a lot of the sights and scenery that I'm familiar with traveling around California growing up. With the smells, with the sounds. It was a really immersive experience, and it offered a great perspective and a different type of experience that most theme park guests hadn't had prior to that opening. Now, I'm not going to say Grizzly River Run isn't cool. I mean, it's an amazing rapids ride. It's probably one of the best rapids rides in Southern California, especially considering that a lot of theme parks have decided to move away from their water ride offerings within this theme park and build water parks outside the park, which some offer for an additional charge. Some are included with park admission. But come on now. California does get hot. I don't know if a lot of people realize that, but it does get hot in California. And especially during the summer, people do need a break from that. People need a reprieve. People need something to cool them down a little bit And if you can offer that in the way of a theme park ride experience, kudos to you, because a lot of theme parks have done away with their water ride guest cooling experiences so that they'll spend a little bit more to go to the amusement or the water park that's adjacent to the theme park amusement park on the property. I'm not okay with that. Like, I'm a theme park enthusiast. I'm a roller coaster lover. And for me, like, classic log rides, flume rides, rapids rides, they offer a thrilling experience in their own, because a lot of them are not tracked, which means that they free float through the trough, through the flume, and every ride experience can be different. Granted, you probably will get wet, which is an added bonus when it's 98 degrees outside, 65-70% humidity. You want that little refreshing experience, but you also want that added thrill. And a lot of theme parks have been doing away with that, and it's kind of a bummer. Not to throw shade at Six Flags Magic Mountain, because you're still cool. I love your coasters. You're a lot of fun. As I said in my previous videos, though, there's things you can do to do better. Please, heed those warnings. Heed that advice. Make it better. You got rid of a classic flume thrill ride when you decided to remove Logjammer and put in a Premier launch coaster. I'm not saying the coaster you put in sucks, but it's a completely different experience than what used to be there. You've already got coasters, you've already got thrills, you've already got the excitement. Let us get wet a little bit without having to pay a little extra or leave to go to an additional experience at your Hurricane Harbor next door. Please, leave the classic water rides alone. Whatever cost it takes to improve them, to revamp them, to make them safe, to make them work, please look into that before you decide to get rid of them. Logjammer is a beloved opening day attraction. Yes, I know Logjammer was there opening day in 1971 when Magic Mountain, before Six Flags bought it, first opened. You could have kept it. You could have themed and designed a coaster around. You did it with Gold Rusher. You could have done it with Full Throttle too. Yeah, I'm still bitter about Logjammer being removed from Magic Mountain. It was honestly next to, well, it was one of 5 classic Flume water ride experiences in a theme park in California. Disneyland, Splash Mountain. Don't get me started. I haven't been on it since the retheme, but the overall experience was always awesome. Calico Timber Mountain Log Ride at Knott's Berry Farm. Always going to be a must ride anytime I go to Knott's, because it is one of the originals. It is one of the best. It is one of the coolest. Always a good time. Always get you a little bit wet. Always worth the wait. And then there were 2 built in Northern California at California's Great America. There was Loggers Run and I wish I could. It was Yankee Harbor, I believe. No, Yankee Harbor was the section it was built in. I don't remember the actual name of it, but it was one of 4. And I say 4 because there were 2 different experiences built at 2 different parks. But it was built by Aerodynamics. It was a dueling flume experience with the final splashdown crossing between the 2 flumes. One was built in Santa Clara at Great America. The other one was built in Chicago, well, just north of Chicago, in Gurnee, Illinois, at Six Flags Great America. But they were the same exact ride, same exact experiences, just in 2 different parts of the country. And I'm still bitter that they got rid of those in favor of an actual water park. I haven't been to the water park in Great America in Santa Clara to justify whether or not it was a good move. But having a flume water ride experience in a state that does experience heat, especially during the summer, and having that removed and taken away, especially a thrilling water experience, kind of hurts. Not gonna lie. Almost hurts as much as Montezuma's Revenge being torn down at Knott's Berry Farm. Yes, I know they are revamping the experience, they are putting it back together, so to speak, but we will never again experience the original Flywheel Schwarzkopf launch experience, which to me made the ride. That launch was nothing. There was no comparison. Accelerator at the same park, yeah, that's got an amazing launch too, but the launch on Zoom, I just hope that they finally finish the project at Knott's Berry Farm and reopen Montezuma's Revenge, which has now been reimagined and rethemed to, oh, I can't even remember the name of it, but as a former ride operator, yes, that was one of the parks I was a ride operator at. It's always sad to see a classic go. Even if it's going to be reopening, it's never going to be the same experience. So, anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to do with this part of the video is Disney did not have to build a completely different park. All they could have done is maybe expanded Disneyland just a little bit more. They've already expanded a little bit into the parking lot in 1995, opening for Indiana Jones. I don't know if any of you remember, but that ride show building was part of the parking lot. So rather than destroying and removing an entire parking lot to build an entirely new park, maybe they just should have spent a little bit less and expanded the park a little bit more. Maybe add a little bit more to Adventureland. I mean, the Tarzan idea with the treehouse was kind of cool, but I don't know. I see opportunities where Tarzan could have been an actual ride. Maybe a roller coaster, maybe a suspended roller coaster where you're Tarzan swinging through the vines in the forest. That would have been pretty freaking awesome, and it would have fit within the Adventureland theme, and they could have kept the Swiss Family Treehouse as a Swiss Family Treehouse. Or maybe, I don't know, expand Tomorrowland out a little bit more into the parking lot and put in a newer roller coaster type attraction to compete with Space Mountain, not to be better than it, but to offer another experience so you don't have to spend 3 hours waiting in line for Space Mountain, even though I still feel 3 hours is worth it. I'm sorry. I'm a Space Mountain diehard fan. I love Space Mountain. I love the way it's done. It's a great theme. It's a great idea. It's a great experience. I've seen it with the lights on. I don't care. To me, that is a top-notch attraction. Always has been, always will be. I don't think any other experience will top that. Yes, I love going fast. I love going high. I love going upside down. Space Mountain doesn't really offer any of that. But what they do offer is a very immersive ride experience for a roller coaster. And not just any type of roller coaster. If you really analyze it and look at it, it's nothing more really than a Wild Mouse style coaster with banked turns. It's a Wild Mouse that doesn't hurt. That's just my take on it, and they threw a space theme around it, and they made it work, and they made it amazing, they made it exciting. It's a great time for everybody, and the point of this video is to say that you don't always have to build a new park, you don't always have to make a massive expansion. Sometimes fixing things, adding a little bit here and there, will draw the crowds that you want without breaking the bank. And when I say breaking the bank, California Adventure on top of the Euro Disney failure almost literally sank Disney parks. Don't believe me? Look it up. The information's there. And again, why build a park experience, an entire park, based on the locale that the park is built in? Do something different. If they had done like a European Disney in California,